The meta of tomorrow, Manadome. Let's get into it. Basically, guys, boiling down to what looks like a really cool synchro-based archetype revolving around V-Size Starfrost, where he's actually going to be used this time to make a big-ass synchro and use a card like Manadome Obsession. Let's get into the fun of this deck, guys. Manadome is a really cool archetype that's basically an extension of the KASH tier stuff, the lore, and V-Size Starfrost. It's going to meet another crew. And this deck is also very powerful. There's also a lot of different ways that you can play the deck, which I could cover in separate videos, but there's just so much stuff coming down the pipeline. You just saw Tellarknight stuff is getting support. Can't wait to drop that video. Look out for it to come soon. And then additionally, there's just so much stuff to cover, like Scareclaw you could play in a heavier way instead of just Reichheart. And then on down the list of stuff that you can manipulate into the deck. You can play Spell Striker because you're playing so many spells. You can play even more than this, and then special summon out something like Spell Striker, and then additionally having cards that can float like Manadome Hearless, Manadome Meek, which basically spam themselves out on the field if you control a Manadome card, which is going to happen rather easily if you're playing the deck, because you're just going to do that. It's very, very easy. Additionally, you get other cards like adding Primal Planet to the deck to be able to add a V-Size Starfrost additionally, or a Scareclaw monster, which is Reichheart, which will allow you to basically plus even harder, special summon out Lightheart itself, and then additionally have plays from there, which we'll cover in a combo. Additionally, I had to talk about what else you would want to play in the deck. Right here, guys, I'm just playing Fenrir. Fenrir is such a powerful card. It's Pankratops. I'm going to play that card until I can't play that card, and they're going to hit it to 1 at some point because that's what they just did in the OCG. But as far as getting to exactly what this deck does, Manadome Hearless is a spam, Manadome Meek is a spam card, and Manadome Roomheart is a spam card. Basically, anytime that you control a Manadome card already on the field, you get to special summon out another one. That's really the whole wheels to the deck. That's the whole understanding of the deck. Just so you're not confused. I think I also have to talk about the spell cards. Obsession is basically targeting one of those cards, destroying it, and then floating into another name, which is really what the whole deck does. It's a deck full of giant germs, I guess. I could probably think Pit in the Dark Clown, cards like that. Cards that can just float, Troop Dragonish cards, except these don't miss timing in any kind of way. And then additionally with Manadome Obsession, being able to add a spell or trap or Calarium, which is the field spell, is really a powerful effect as well. The field spell itself can add a Manadome monster or a V-Size Starfrost. And then imagining, which I'm not covering in the combo, but it's really nothing that's that hard to understand. Basically, it's the trade-in. Additionally, they all get to kind of banish from the deck and do something separately. Like this one, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target a monster, usually a V-Size Starfrost, or something with 1500 attack and 2100 defense that's on your field, and turn it into a tuner, which can be really fun as well, because you get to make a synchro that essentially, for however many tuners that you create it with, which will also show off in a second, goes over the top and gets to attack a lot of times, up to the number of tuners that you can use. It's very similar to Gothams, just to show a similar card that you haven't seen probably in a while, but multiple cards allow you to do multiple things. I guess that's not the best example. Forgive me, put it down in the comments if I can't remember what the card is, but multiple tuners and doing something multiple off of that, having multiplicity off of that, is really powerful as well. Scareclaw stuff, I feel like, is the best way to additionally play it with some of this other stuff. And you could definitely go harder on the Scareclaw stuff, but I feel like that would then take out the Fenrirs, and that's really going to be up to you. The last card I want to talk about are the trap cards. Breakheart, I don't feel like this card is necessary, but it can bring back a Synchro monster, which is really strong. But I feel like if they played around your Synchro, if you're pulling back like a Crystal Wing or a Baron or something, I get it. But like the setup that I'm doing in one of these combos, I don't know. It's an interesting card. I'll just say that. They all are very interesting cards that can do something. And then they all do something in the graveyard as well. Like this one gets to protect something from battle or card effect, which is really key at times, just because it's showing that you're going to be able to push through boards and then stick stuff to the board, and then it's going to be really hard to get them off the board. And then you just have standard Baron or Crystal Wing stuff to go out as well. Manadome Reframing, lastly, is basically an Omni Negate with a Synchro monster on the field, and then additionally has a float and a Daguster Emerald effect. Now let's get into the combos. I definitely had to show Calarium and Abscission just to show what the cards do. Calarium allows you to add a Manadome monster. We're going to add Room Heart in this specific combo. We're going to normal summon Room Heart, and we're going to add Meek. Meek is the first floater. It's the water floater that we talked about. Both of the floaters do the exact same thing. Really, they all float. But this one, again, because you control a Manadome card, which is the Room Heart, you get to special summon out the Meek. And then from there, you're going to activate Abscission, destroying the Meek, and then being able to grab a spell or trap, or if you don't have Calarium, add Calarium. But reframing is going to be your Omni Negate, and this is just really as basic as you can get, guys, just showing exactly what the deck can do with its own engine. Chainlink 1 is Meek to float because it was destroyed. Chainlink 2, you can make, I guess you can reverse to play around Ash and Bell. Whichever one you would fear, I guess you would organize your Chainlinks that way. Primal Planet Calarium is going to allow you to pull back the Meek, and then the other one is going to float out onto the field. From there, again, guys, you have multiple tuners, and the one that floats out, both of them have the effect to change their levels by 2. So you can go into an 8, or you can manipulate the one that was summoned and make it a 4, and then thus you have 4-4-2, or you have 4-2-2. It's up to you. I feel like the Synchro 10 is probably the play because, well, that's just easy Baron. There's no anti-nib combo in this video. However, it's very, very essential that you probably still want to have an anti-nib combo just in case nib ever comes back. You can't forget about a card like that just because it's not good right now because of the format. But basically from there, just showing with those two cards, you basically have a card that they cannot deal with. It's Avermaxish with Omni Negate behind it and 3 other cards that you didn't even use. Not bad, not bad. But it definitely isn't meta by simple analysis. Like that's not the most meta thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely something strong. In the second combo, I wanted to show the same 2 cards, Abscission and Calarium. Additionally, it's the same thing. Again, adding Room Heart. This time summoning Room Heart. This time showing off Meek. Again, just want to show just what can be done as far as if you open kind of the same stuff. How many different ways can you pretty much do the exact same thing that you're going to be repeating thousands and thousands of times if you choose to play this deck. I wanted to show off the trap card again. If you feel like you're going to stick the Synchro to the board and you want it to be a pain in your opponent's ass, you probably want to play this card. If you feel like this is a slow card, which I feel like some people are going to look at this and be like, it's too slow, you probably won't want to play this card. So this is the card that I feel like is going to give you a lot of confusion on what you want to do with it. And the rest of the deck is kind of self-explanatory, to be honest. Anyway, get back into the combo. You're then summoning out Abscission the same way, and then the field spell is chaining to be able to pull the one back from the grave. And obviously, each and every time you get to manipulate the levels, basically getting into a charge warrior, which you're definitely going to have to pick up for this deck, is going to be a key combo that you'll want to do. Now, this isn't playing around nib specifically, but I'm just showing that you can draw a card, and it's really, really key. Hopefully you draw a talents, because that'd be absolutely crazy, and then you have a Baron play rather easily. Now, again, this is where I'm saying you have a lot of different things you could do. You just saw Ruddy Rose. There's, nobody's playing Leo or anything like that, but there's very, very powerful Synchro 10s, and there's a lot to experiment with. So I'm just going to say, I'm leaving that up to you. But getting into a Baron rather easily off of the engine by itself is not horrible. Not the most meta thing I've ever seen, though. Again, I wanted to show a Calarium and a Hearless, kind of speeding it up as we go along. This time we're adding Room Heart, and then just showing, literally, guys, this is the exact same thing. This is just repeating. This deck is going to be about repetition and then experimenting with stuff in your deck building. Outside of that, maybe the deck mixes with other decks. Maybe somebody tries some agent stuff, some sprite stuff. There's a lot to cover with that, but that would have to be a whole nother video. I just want to show that Manadome is going to be here to stay, and it's probably going to be a lot longer lasting than Tearlament and KASH, simply because it's not so overwhelmingly powerful that it's going to get banned that quickly like those two will. Additionally, guys, wanted to show off in this one, special summoning out Meek. And again, this is where I would say if you have additional tech cards, having an Earth Tuner flying out of your hand like that, and then having additional cards being able to float out of your hand, like let's say Spell Striker, if one of these cards was Spell Striker, that's what I mean by easy Nat Beast. If you had another Manadome card, then you can just have a whole nother line of plays. That's what I mean by this is just the baseline, but I will have to talk about a little bit of everything because there's a little bit of everything happening. Abscission, again, is going to do the same thing it did before, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, or Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2 in the other way, to then summon 2 different Hearlesses out onto the field. And then from there, adding Refirming. I feel like you'd want to do that almost every time. I never see a scenario where you'd want to stick the Synchro like that multiple times unless they simply cannot deal with it, which would be kind of cool. Maybe an Omega loop. I feel like that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But most of the time, like the Baron's thing combo you're about to see, like I don't need that card because Baron's going into my extra deck. Again, drawing a card is just really, really strong. And Scareclaw Arrival, which we'll show off here in a second, it's really like a ritual spell in this deck. I play a lot of Drytron, and this card just feels exactly like Meteor's Drytron, how powerful of a card it is. And it gets to protect while it's in the graveyard as well. Adamantipator Dragite is a Synchro 8 that you can play. Again, this is a 6 and a 2, and if you manipulate the levels, you know about that. But in case you didn't, you can make an 8 for Dragite. If you're playing water, if you have a water card in your graveyard, if you're playing Nib in the deck, it may be a good thing to play Nib and have a card like this. And then if you hit multiple rocks, maybe you're playing some other rock card that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. It's just a card that you may want to try. Crystal Wing is probably going to be the thing that I would pick the most just because it's generically good, my stopping monster effects like that. And then pulling it back with that trap card that we had talked about, maybe that's a really, really powerful effect. Maybe that's a really, really powerful setup that your opponent can't really deal with. Omega is another card again. But again, I was like, if Omega gets wiped off the field, I feel like it's done its job. And by the time that you could pull Omega back and then do it again, I feel like you'd kind of be in a rough spot anyway. So I don't know. That's what I mean by variance and what you're going to do. But in this scenario, just showing Ending Crystal Wing counter trap, man. That's good. That's good. That's good. But off of 2 cards, we've seen a lot crazier. We've seen crazier than this off of 1 card. But this is still relatively strong. And it's definitely going to take somebody experimenting with it a lot before we really know how good it is. But that's just my opinion. I have to talk about a Scythe combo. Forgive me. You know, it's Scythe. You have to play stuff that's meta, and Scythe is a long-standing combo, a long-standing powerful thing within the meta game that still hasn't gotten hit. And being able to wipe an opponent's turn like that most of the time, or change this to like a Lancia style effect, it's, you know, it's something. So you have to definitely cover it. I have to show Room Heart in a reverse way this time. Again, you get to target a card and destroy it and then float. So again, this is how you can plus off of the engine by itself. Normal summon the Meek, then special summon Room Heart and destroy that Meek that's on the field. It's basically doing the same thing in reverse. From there, you basically get to, it's just card economy would be the only difference. It'd be 1 card on the field less for doing it this way. But sometimes you may need to do this. It's unforeseen, but it is what it is. From there, you're getting to add, again, another spell or trap, adding Abscission this time, and then floating into Meek because you popped Meek. Then from there, you're burning through the last one by activating Abscission and destroying that one. Then adding the field spell and floating out into Meek again. From there, you're activating the field spell, and then I feel like probably here you'd want to manipulate the levels. Just showing off in this combo is specifically what can happen. But in this combo, we're getting into V-Size Starfrost just to show off what the cover boy can do a little bit. From there, you're banishing Abscission from your graveyard. When you banish that, you get to special summon a V-Size Starfrost or Room Heart that's in your hand, which is really, really nuts as well. And you can do both of those in the same turn, which means it's a little bit of power creep and it's a little bit Sword Soulish how fast this deck can be. At least initially. I don't know if it's going to be overwhelmingly powerful like KASH tier, but it's definitely something that you're going to have to deal with. And people are going to enjoy this deck just because it's kind of cool looking, you know, to be honest. But then banish from there and special summon V-Size Starfrost. And then from there, link into Lightheart to then start your Scareclaw plays where you're getting to the field spell. Pardon me, I don't know what the hell I was doing there. But adding the field spell, and then the field spell, Rhycophobia, is going to allow you to add Lightheart, which can, from here, can spam itself out onto the field. From there, this is where I'm saying, if you're not feeling KASH tier Fenrir, definitely I would just cut it out and put Scareclaw stuff in this spot. If you're not feeling either one of those, Phantom Knight is definitely a possibility, but I'm not a fan of all the Fog Blades and stuff in your deck. but the setup would be a lot more powerful as long as somebody's not playing evenly matched or something like that. From there, when you special summon out the right heart, you're getting to basically draw cards and get to a Scareclaw card as fast as possible, which is just flat out silly. And if you draw talents all the time, that's also silly. From there, you're linking off those two in the artifact Dagda, and this is where I'm saying that this is a lot like a ritual spell, because activate Scareclaw Arrival to then pull a card back onto the field, chain to put artifact Scythe in your back row, special summon out VSAT Starfrost as the target because you can, and then from there, special summoning out Lightheart because you have a Vsauce on your field. From here, I feel like you can play Appaloosa, you can play Underworld Goddess, you play Avermax by turning two of these basically into the new fusion that we're going to talk about here in a split second. I would try to get Baron on the field as fast as possible, but from here, boom, pop the Scythe, you're good. And then returning back from there. If you want to block monster effects from stopping that, maybe you read something is going to stop the Scythe like a crow or something like that. You know, it is what it is. I definitely have to mention Vicious Estrade though. Interesting card. It's a contact fusion, and basically it's another El Shaddai Apkalon, but in this scenario it gets to target a card on your field, which can plus your engine even more. So I feel like it's meant for this deck, but I obviously foresee that they're going to have a lot more going forwards, and it's definitely something that may slip into the other decks that have the lore as well with VSAT Starfrost. In my opinion, Avermax is probably still going to be a pain in the ass, and it's just, I love summoning Avermax like that. Appaloosa, again, it's really up to you. You can even turn this one into another Appaloosa target. So like, not a horrible setup, guys, and you still got a lot of cards in your hand. The pluses off of the Scareclaw draws, maybe you went into a Charge Warrior draw. It's something. I'm definitely going to say this deck is something. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments. I definitely feel like there's a lot more to talk about. This deck is definitely very, very powerful, and I'll see you next time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Captain out. Ciao bella. Arrivederci.